name's Randy, and for my 8th grade project, I chose to learn more about nutrition, more specifically, gymnastics nutrition. Have you ever fallen in love with a sport and later on felt like your body betrayed you? Do you seem to have new injuries every couple of months and can't seem to make it through practices? Would it surprise you if I told you the main reason for all these things could be fixed simply by focusing on nutrition? This is what I dove into this year to help me on my way of one day getting a full ride scholarship to college for gymnastics and to help transform my gymnastics from this to this. I chose to learn more about nutrition because I'd already been working on fueling myself for practice, and this would be an opportunity to learn more about it. Throughout the year, I've learned so many things that I've now implemented into my everyday life, though my process of learning about nutrition started even before the school year when my mom came across a page on it. As she looked through it, she started to realize that this could help prevent the injuries that were so common for me and help me have more energy at practice. She showed this to me, and although I was skeptical at first, I took into account all of the hard things that had happened to me over the past few years that were gymnastics related. These were things like injuries, including 3 broken toes, a stress fractured back, 2 pulled muscles, and many small strains, along with being sore every time I went to practice. So when she showed this to me, I decided that it would be worth a shot. This was something I never could have imagined would have helped. I mean, how can nutrition help with injuries? Turns out it does a whole lot more than that. Not only does nutrition help with injuries, but it also helps with mental blocks, soreness, focus, and much more. If you didn't know, a mental block is when your mind refuses to do what you're telling it to. No matter how much you want to do it or how much you know you can, your mind will stop you from doing it. In fact, for almost a year, I had a mental block on a double backflip, which is a skill that's on the screen. This kept me from advancing to where my teammates were, and I had no idea that simply learning how to fuel myself could help me with this block. And while it won't completely eliminate blocks like this, it can help prevent them. Not getting enough nutrition can also lead to feeling tired in the gym and unfocused, zoning out during times we're supposed to be working. Being tired and unfocused is one of the worst combinations you can have at the gym, and something to make it even worse is feeling weak at the same time. Now that you're feeling weak, tired, and unfocused, it makes it feel like your sport is impossible, when really the only impossible thing is trying to survive a 5-hour practice on just a granola bar. Having proper nutrition when in sports that are training 20+ hours a week is very important because without it, you'll be struggling at practices and competitions. Now, you might think of struggling at practices and competitions as not being able to make it through your teams. And while this is true some of the time, underfeeling can be more subtle than you would imagine. It might look like your ankle hurting, or suddenly having a mental block on a skill you've done for years. It could even look like not trying to make the coach's corrections, when in reality, you just don't have enough fuel or energy to make it through the turn. Meeting the standards of things like calories you need to have each day as a high-level athlete will result in better practices, fewer mental blocks, more energy, and more focus. Did you know that an average high-competitive 12-year-old gymnast needs to consume at least 3,000 calories a day to stay fully fueled in the gym? This should give you a taste of how much a high-level athlete needs to consume in the day, even if they're really young, to stay fueled. Although I've done a lot and gained a lot of knowledge since I first started my project at the beginning of the year, there was still one main problem in my way. My project needed to be tangible. Since the whole point of my project was about learning and gaining knowledge, I had no idea how I would make it tangible. After much thought, it was suggested to me to create a cookbook. This would be an excellent idea as it would be able to showcase all that I'd learned over the past year while still fulfilling the requirements for 8th grade. My cookbook includes recipes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, complete with snacks and drinks on the side to help you stay fueled daily. This recipe includes 10 recipes, 10 snacks, and 3 different drinks to help you stay fueled daily, along with my bio and a backstory about why I became interested in nutrition. My process of making this cookbook started on the app Shutterfly, where I put together elements, backgrounds, and recipes to make it sound as professional as possible. This cookbook also includes my bio about why I became interested in nutrition and why I decided to do this for my project. Now that I had done a deep dive into nutrition, it was time to put together the pieces of understanding it. Let's start with the fact that eating enough is the most important part of understanding nutrition. Though you might eat lots of low-calorie meals and veggies to help you stay quote-unquote healthy, as a high-level athlete, not consuming the number of calories you need in a day will affect your performance at the gym in a negative way. While this does not mean to go add junk food and sugar to your everyday diet, which is a very bad idea, you should, every once in a while, it's okay if you add a popsicle or an ice cream to help you reach your goal. Secondly, it's important to keep in mind that your calories must be spread out throughout the day. Because if you don't, and you consume it all in one meal, you'll still be underfueled. Now that we've talked all about why you need to meet the standards of nutrition as an athlete, let's talk about how to meet those. Here are some examples of things you could have for breakfast, lunch, a pre-workout snack, and dinner. For breakfast, you could have potatoes, which are carbs, turkey bacon, which is protein, and yogurt, which is dairy. For lunch, you could have a sandwich that has bread, which is carbs, turkey, which is protein, and cheese, which is dairy. For a pre-workout snack, you could have rice, beans, and cheese, which also fits this template. And lastly, for dinner, you could have a sweet potato that has carbs, chicken, which is protein, and milk, which is dairy. This is a simple template to help you stay fueled for workouts and practices. Now that we've talked about how to pick foods for meals, let's talk about pre-workout snacks. The main thing I look for in the middle of your workout for snacks is lots of carbs and little protein. Carbs, which come from things like crackers, sugar, and potatoes, are quick forms of energy. They give you a quick boost, whereas protein, which comes from things like meat and eggs, provides long-term energy. Meaning, in the middle of your workout, it's best to eat mainly carbs to help give you a quick boost. Whereas before your workout, it's best to eat carbs and protein, along with dairy, to help so that the carbs can get you started, and once they run out, the protein can fill in after the carbs run out. As my project started to come to an end, here were my main lessons learned. Underfueling can take years to take an effect on the body. If you were underfueling when you were a 10-year-old and are now a 13-year-old, it might take 3 whole years for it to show up. So even if it seems like you're fine and you decide not to take action on it, it might come back to bite you later on. I learned that athletes need to consume much more than regular people in order to stay fueled, because if you don't, you become underfueled. I learned that underfueling leads to injuries and mental blocks because your body is not able to function to its fullest capability if you don't feed it properly. These were the things that stood out to me the most after completing this project. This project has forever changed my life and the way I look at getting enough nutrition. Before, I would go to practice without eating anything, maybe a few snacks, not even a meal. After this project, I have learned how to properly fuel myself, and my gymnastics is greatly benefiting from it. I hope the athletes in this room can take what I've said to mind and give focusing on nutrition a try. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
Can this nutrition plan translate to other sports other than just gymnastics?
Yes, definitely. It's just my main focus in this project was about gymnastics because that's the main sport I do, but you can take all of this knowledge for any hardcore sport as well. Yes.
How much gymnastics do you do?
I currently train about 25 hours a week, 5 days a week.
How old were you when you started gymnastics?
I was 2 when I started gymnastics and now I'm 13.
Me?
Yeah.
Wait, shoot, I forgot my question. Never mind.
Okay. Yes.
My question is, when are you going to be selling your book at any place or period of time?
Unfortunately, I'm not planning on going into business for this book, and this was just for the sake of this project. I'm really glad I was still able to make it, but I'm not planning on manufacturing it, so. Are there any other questions?